This video will introduce input and output. So you've seen how to use printf for output, but now we're going to introduce the scanf function, scanf, in order to input values that you type from the keyboard. I have already included the template for the program, as you see here, and I've added comments at the top which just tell you what I told you just now. The program introduces scanf to read in integers and real types, and we're going to use %d and %f just like we did before. Alright, so in order to input information, we have to have a place to put it. That means we need some variables, so we'll also be introducing variables at this point. Variables come in a large variety of types, but we're going to look at just a couple of simple ones for integers and float. The way you declare a variable in C is to precede the name of the variable with the type that you want it to be. So int means the following variable will be a type integer. So I'm going to make an integer value for age, and I'll make another integer variable for weight. So this is the way you declare variables. You come up with the type that you want, and then you can follow that type with the variable, and you can choose the name. However, there are some rules that you need to follow when you're specifying the names for your variables. And the rules are that they must begin with an alphabetic character. They can be uppercase or lowercase. So you can use alphabetic characters, and you can also use the numbers, the digits 0 through 9. You can mix those, you can intermix those, but you cannot begin a variable with a number. Variables must begin with a letter. You can, in addition to this, you can use an underscore as well. So when you are naming your variables, remember, they cannot begin with a number. They can be composed of uppercase and lowercase letters plus the digits 0 through 9 and an underscore. The last rule you need to remember is that you cannot declare a variable that is the same as a word that's in blue. So you see we have the pound include up here, we have void. All words that are in blue are said to be reserved, so you can't use those for variables. I have added comments which show that the line int age declares a variable age of type integer, and the same thing for weight. What if you have real numbers? Well, the reserved word, or the special word you need, or the type for real numbers is float. Okay, so float means that the following variable is going to represent a real number. So let's just make something like temperature, semicolon, and let's have another one. Okay, float pressure, semicolon. Alright, so now I've declared two new variables, temperature and pressure, and these are going to be variables that will contain real numbers. Float is a word that has been around for a long time, and it's a legacy of the C language itself from 30 years ago, and it pertains to the way that the numbers, real numbers, are stored in memory, which we will not go into at this point. Just remember that if you want a real number, then the type that you use is float. Okay, continuing, I have added the comments to the right of the variables temperature and pressure that we just declared. Now let's see how we can use these variables as a container to input some values. So they're going to contain the numbers that we type in. Okay, so let's do this. Input some values for your age and weight. If you're going to have inputs from the keyboard, then you have to have some dialogue between your program and the screen. Then if we didn't have anything here to instruct a person that we are expecting them to type in their age or the weight, then they'll just see a black screen and will not know what to do. So before we get some input information, let's give them a prompt to tell them what we want. So let's do printf. Please enter your age. Okay, now I want this to be input on the same line, so I'm not going to use a backslash in here. I'll put a colon and a space, and then double quote, right paren, semicolon. So that will just output to the screen this message, so now the person knows they need to type in a couple of numbers for their age. In order to read that, we have this new function called scanf. So it's going to scan in information, sort of like a scanner. We start out like printf. We have the double quote, And then if we want to input something of type integer, we still use %d like we did before. But we do not use anything else. So with scanf, we do not put any annotations or any special characters in there, just the field specifier that corresponds to the type we want. We have %d because we want to input an integer, and the thing that we want is going to be age, but we have one very important additional thing we need to add. With scanf, you always precede the variable with an ampersand. Okay, it's easy to forget that, and that will cause you some errors. But this is just the way scanf will work. So if you want to input a variable, or a number to go into a variable, then in scanf, you must precede that with an ampersand. So this will prompt the user to please enter your age. Then scanf is going to read it in. Before we run this, let's go ahead and ask for the weight as well. So we'll do printf, double quote, now enter your weight. And I'll keep that on the same line, and you'll see what this looks like shortly. Right paren semicolon. And we have a scanf to read in weight. Okay, scanf, double quote, weight is also a type integer. So we use %d, double quote, comma, ampersand, weight, right paren semicolon. So that will input the values. Let's now output that information back to the screen so that we know that it did enter correctly. So we'll print the values back to the screen with a printf. So let's do this. Let's say you entered, let's do a %d for age and %d for weight. Period, \n, double quote, comma. Last time, when we were looking in previous videos of how to output values, we had constant numbers over here. This time, we want to output the numbers that we just typed in, so we have to use variables. So we want to print out the variable age that contains the age, and we want to print out the variable weight, which contains the variable that we use to input the value for weight. Do not get this confused with the scanf. Okay, it is only in scanf that you use the ampersand. If you're printing out variables, or the contents or values of variables with printf, you just list the name of the variable. You do not need to put the ampersand in front. Given this much, let's build our program and see what we get. So we'll build it, and we will run it. And now we are seeing the dialog. Please enter your age appears on the screen, and there's no \n, so the cursor is blinking just to the right of our semicolon, which makes sense. So now we could enter our age. So we'll pick 40. And that was input by the scanf. Okay, so whenever you are prompting the user to enter something and you follow that with a scanf, then the program is going to stop and wait until you input that value. So now it's waiting for the input for weight. Okay, so let's type in the weight, and now when I hit enter, the program continues, and we echo back to the screen the values for age and weight that we just entered. So it says you entered 40 for age and 160 for weight. So by using these variables, we can enter information, store them in the variable, and then we can use those variables further down in the program to do whatever we want, calculations and so on. At this point, we just echo them back to the screen. All right, so that's how you can input values for of type integer. Now let's continue and let's look at how we can input values that are real numbers. First of all, let's skip a couple of lines. So let's do a printf, quote, \n, double quote, right paren semicolon, and that just skips 2 lines. That's just so our output on the screen doesn't get all mixed up together. Okay, now we are going to input some real numbers. So let's input some values for the variables temperature and pressure. So we'll echo, or we'll print a prompt to the screen. Enter a value for temperature. Same as before. Let's put the put the colon there, space, double quote, and then we'll close that printf statement. This time we want to input a value which is a real number. So we'll do scanf, do the double quote. We use %f, double quote, comma, ampersand, and temperature. Once again, did I misspell that? Hang on. Left out the A. All right, now again, notice that you have to use the ampersand. It is vital that you do that. There is no space between them, just ampersand and then the variable name. With scanf, you just use the %f if it's a real number, or %d if it is an integer. You do not put any filled with, you do not put any special characters in here, no commas, nothing except the very basic %f or %d. Now, continuing, let's prompt to get the pressure. Printf, double quote, enter a value for pressure, period, double quote, right, print semicolon, and we have a scanf, double quote, we have another %f, comma, ampersand, pressure, right, print semicolon. Okay, so avoid the temptation to put a filled with or something there. It just will not work if you do that. Now let's echo this back to the screen. So we will printf, okay, double quote, and let's make this simple. Let's just say temperature. Apparently I cannot spell temperature today. Temperature is equal to, double quote, not a double quote, sorry, okay. And now we're going to output some real numbers. So let's use temperature. Okay, let's do like a 6.2f. So we're going to cut off the number of digits to make to the right and make it a 2. So temperature is equal to that. And let's follow that with pressure is equal to, that's a real number as well. All right, so let's do a %, let's do 5.1f for pressure, \n, double quote, comma, and now we just specify the two variables, temperature and pressure. All right, so this now is going to prompt us to enter a value for temperature, so with the printf followed by the scanf. Then we'll prompt for the pressure and follow that by the scanf. Then we will just echo back to the screen the numbers that we input. Easy enough. Build. And now when we run, then we have to enter the values that we just did. So let's go ahead and do the age part of this, the integer values. All right, so we have to do that. Then we've skipped 2 lines, and we are at the point where we're going to enter the values for temperature. So let's say the temperature is 35.54. It's a real number. And the pressure, let's say 160.2. So we enter those values, and we print those back to the screen. So the temperature, using this printf statement, is 35.54, and the pressure is 160. So both of those now are real numbers. So this shows you how you can type in values that are integer values at the upper part of our example, and for real numbers here. Now let's look at another case. So let's print to the screen. Let's do a printf. Okay, double quote. Let's call this case 2. Right. And let's put a couple of \n's here. Right, paren semicolon. So now we're going to look at a different way to do this. And to take advantage of some of the stuff we already have, let's just do a copy and paste. So scroll up to our previous example and make a copy of those lines. So we have the printf, the scanf for the age and the weight, and we have the output to the screen. So let's just make a copy of those lines, and I can do that from edit here, copy, or you can use Control-C. Now let's scroll down to case 2 and let's paste that little chunk of code in here. And now we'll do some editing so we don't have to type everything from scratch. Now with case 2 we are going to enter both values on the same line. Okay, so let's put a comment to that. Effect, enter age and weight on one line. So we'll just use one scanf statement for this. So let's modify our printf. Please enter your age and weight separated by a space. Now, we are going to input two values. So we are going to do scanf with a %d and another %d because we want to input two values. And after &age, we will add &weight. So this now will input two values. We can type both numbers and then hit enter, and both of them will go into our variables age and weight. That means we do not need this second prompt for weight. We're going to do that all with one. So we're going to prompt enter age and weight. We'll have the scanf, %d, &age, &weight. And we can keep this, printf, you entered age and weight, so we can reuse that print statement. So to show you that this works, we'll build it, and we will execute it. And we'll enter the age. Okay, so this is before. In case 1, still the same example, so we'll keep that. And there are some errors here. Okay, enter a value for temperature. I think I have some errors, so I need to go fix those. Okay, actually I didn't have an error. I just hit the enter key a little bit too quickly. So let's run our program once again. And we have to go through the first part of this. And we have to enter the values for, we have to enter the age and we have to enter the weight as we did before. And then we have to enter the temperature and pressure as we did before. Then we get down to case 2 and we'll enter them both together. So I kind of skipped ahead. So let's try that again. We'll run our program. Then we'll get past the first part of this. Enter your age, 40, weight, 160. Then I'll enter the temperature like we did before, say 35.54. And we enter the pressure, say 102.5. And now we're down to case 2. So now we have the prompt, please enter your age and weight separated by space, both on the same line. So let's put in a different age. Let's put in, say, 50. And let's put in a weight of 170. So both of them on the same line separated by space. We hit enter. And it says you entered 50 for age and 170 for weight. So this shows you that you can use the scanf statement to enter two numbers at once, or in fact as many numbers as you want at once. Continuing with this example, then let's go ahead and let's use a single scanf to read in to real numbers. Okay, so like we did before, let's scroll up and let's get the lines where we entered real numbers. So temperature, let's get that. So we'll have the printf, scanf, and then the printf for the temperature and pressure. So copy those lines, and I'd use the Control-C to copy this time. Then scroll down and let's add that in with a Control-V. And we will modify this so that we can read in the temperature and pressure on one line. All right, enter a value for temperature and pressure separated by a space. All right, so SCP-AR. All right, got that spelled correctly, maybe. All right, so now we're going to do that. For the scanf, we will have two numbers. So we have %f followed by another %f. We have temperature. Let's add pressure. We'll do comma ampersand pressure. So that will input two values. Then we can delete the printf for the prompt for pressure and the scanf, because now we're going to put them in on the same line, and then we just print the two values out as we did before. So no changes there. Build. Run. So now we have a number of examples to step through. let's go back to this. So the first one, 50, 160 again. Now the old values for temperature, 35.4. Pressure, let's say 102.6. Case 2, we had the age and the weight on the same line. So let's put in a 40 space 160. That worked. So now we are at the last one we've entered. So enter a value for temperature and pressure separated by space. So let's put in the temperature. Let's say that's 35.75, and let's make the pressure 102.8, and we enter. So those two numbers now go in on the same line, and we echo those back to the screen. So this shows you that you can use the scanf with the %f field specifiers to input temperature and pressure. To complete this video, we're now going to do case 3, where we are going to enter all of the values for all 4 variables using one scanf statement. All right, so let's do that, and then we'll be done with this. So let's do printf, okay, double quote, enter values for age, weight, temperature, and pressure, separated by spaces. Okay, double quote, right paren, semicolon. So we are going to now have a scanf that is going to read in all 4 of these values. So we do a scanf, double quote, and all we need to do now is to put the correct field specifiers for these things. So we're going to start with the age and the weight. Both of them are type integer, so we %d, %d. Then we want 2 real numbers for temperature and pressure, so that's a %f and a %f. So, and it doesn't really matter here if you could mix these up. You could enter the age and then the temperature and make that a %f, and then the weight a %d, and so on. So as long as you have the correct field specifiers matched up with the correct variables, then you'll be okay. But you can put them in any order you want. All right, so now we have to make sure we do these correctly. So age is first. So we have the ampersand age, comma, and we have the ampersand for weight, comma, ampersand temperature, comma, ampersand pressure. Okay, right paren, semicolon. So this now, we have a scanf statement that will read in 4 values, and we are mixing up the types, integer and real. So now let's print the stuff back to the screen. We'll do a printf, and let's put these on separate lines. So let's do, okay, age, okay, equals, and we have a %d for that, and a \n. Then we have weight is equal to, we have a %d for that. We'll do another \n. Then we have temperature is equal to, and that's going to be a floating point, so let's do a %, let's say a 6.2f, so we cut off all those extra digits, \n, and then finally pressure. Pressure is equal to, and let's use a %, say 5.2f for pressure, \n, double quote, comma, and now we just list the variables. Okay, age, weight, temperature, and pressure, right paren, semicolon. So now that will print out all 4 of those to the screen, and then we'll close out the program at the bottom. All right, so let's build this. Run. And now we have to go through all of our inputs for this program. 40 for age, 150 for weight at the top. Okay, temperature, let's do 56.78. Okay, pressure, 120. Fix that. Okay, pressure is 125.2. In case 2, we had to enter our age and weight together. So let's put the age and weight on the same line. Okay, then we have the temperature and pressure on the same line, so let's do 45.7, and for the pressure, let's do 102.6. And now finally we're down to case 3, where we're going to enter all 4 of them. Enter values for age, weight, temperature, and pressure separated by spaces. Alright, so my age is going to be 40, and will I be able to stay on screen here? 50, no I will not, so I'm going to back up. So you can see this, I can't make this window any larger, so I'm just going to hit enter, and now the input's going to be on the next line. Alright, so age, let's say 25, weight 140, temperature is, today's temperature is 57.5 degrees, pressure, whatever that means, say 143.4. Now all 4 numbers are entered, so our scanf is going to accept all 4. I hit enter, and now those are output back to the screen on separate lines from this last printf statement. So we have the age, and the weight, the temperature, and the pressure all output. So this video has shown you how you can use the scanf statement to input values from the keyboard. And you need to have a dialogue with the user so that you have printf statements to tell them what to enter and scanf statements that will actually read the values in. That completes this video.